Everything is inspired by the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Om Aganati Manandasya Garangara Salatya Chatsurum Militam Yana Tashmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Karami Antarati Swaparantikam. Topic today is God by my side. Most of the time we're praying, Krishna or God, get me out of this challenge, get me out of this trouble at work, get me out of this financial setback. And there's nothing wrong with that, but before you get out, the best thing you can do is to invite God into that circumstance, into that trouble, into that unfair situation. Sometimes the miracle isn't getting out. The miracle is what Krishna or God is going to do inside of that situation. So instead of just praying reflexively and automatically, Krishna, get me out, save me, here's another prayer. Krishna, come in to the hospital room while I'm taking the chemotherapy. Come in to the trouble at work where the people aren't fair, where there's politics in the office. Come in to this depression and anxiety that I'm dealing with. Can I tell you that what's more powerful than God bringing you out is when God comes in and begins to change things from within the situation, comes in and gives you a favor despite how and who's trying to push you out and down, comes in and gives you strength for which you have no explanation. Grace to outlast what should have stopped you. If you're only focused on Krishna or God bringing you out, you're going to live frustrated. You're going to live disappointed. Why? Because God doesn't do things in a way that we can predict it, nor does He do things on our timetable. Sometimes it takes longer than we would have thought. There are more difficulties than we would have anticipated. We hit dead ends and delays that we didn't see coming. But when you know that God is with you in that difficulty, you're not going to live frustrated. You're not going to lose sleep at night. You're going to have rest right in the storm. Krishna, I know you're right there by my side, ordering my steps. And at the right time, according to your plan, you'll get me to where I'm supposed to be. This means you don't have to fight everything. You don't have to live upset. You can sleep at night. This happens only when you shift your focus from getting out to inviting God into the trouble. Now, He's knocking on the door. It's a door that can only be opened from the inside. You have to ask Him in. You have to invite Him in, saying, Krishna, don't just change the circumstances. Don't just change these people at work. Change me. Help me not just to go through this situation, but Krishna, help me to grow through this situation. Help me to learn. Help me to increase my faith. Let my character come up higher. If Krishna delivered us instantly, we would never reach our highest potential. God, Krishna, works His best works in the trouble, in the uncomfortable situations. Sometimes He's not bringing you out yet. Oh, this has gone on for so long. I don't think I can stand it anymore. The reason He hasn't brought you out yet is because He actually wants the odds to be against you in an even bigger way, so that when He does bring you out, it will be a greater miracle, a greater testimony to His power. The voices will whisper, who do you think you are? Krishna doesn't hear your prayers. That's why nothing's changing. The truth is that Krishna or God is setting you up to show out in your life. And when He brings you out, He will do so above and beyond in such a way that there will be no doubt that the favor of God is on those who kept Him first place. The Lord Himself says, when you go through the waters, I will be with you. When you go through the rivers, they will not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you will not be burned. You familiar with the Bible, I assume, and you, of course, are aware that throughout the Bible we find this phrase, lo. Ring a bell? It's an expression to indicate pleasant surprise, like check it out. In Sanskrit we have aho, aho. It's like calling someone's attention to something which is a pleasant surprise. There was a Chinese man, after reading the Bible, he immediately converted to Christianity. They said, why did you convert to Christianity? He said, because God is mentioning my name in every other verse. What do you think his name was? It was love. So wherever he read the Bible, he thought it was speaking directly to him. Naive? No. Dead on. Dead on. God was speaking to him, and God's speaking to you personally in every single verse of Scripture. Now, in Scriptures, God never says that it'll keep you out of famine, that it'll keep you out of death, that it'll keep you out of sickness. He'll never say you'll never have to face any challenges. He says just the opposite. The challenges will come. The adversities will come. Things you don't want, things you don't understand. But the whole key is to know that I am with you in all of those circumstances, in the flood, in the famine. So our question tonight is, are you trying to ask God to get you out of something that he wants to take you through? Are you fighting the process? Krishna, it's not fair. I can't take it anymore. Well, here's a suggestion. Maybe everything will change if you'll start inviting God into the fire. He's promised that he'll walk by your side. Maybe he's just waiting for your invitation to show up and out in your life in a more visible way. So the right attitude should be, Krishna, I know that you're going to bring me out, but in the meantime, I'm asking you to come into this challenge in my health, into this loss I'm going through, into this depression that's trying to stop me. And when you invite God into your difficulty, you feel him breathing in your direction. You feel him empowering you, enabling you, favoring you. Is it a greater testimony, let me ask you, that he kept you out of the fire, that you never had to go through the fire in the first place? Or is it a greater testimony that he came into the fire, walked by your side, and got you through it? And when you know that Krishna, God, is with you, when you've invited him into your situation, you'll have a smile on your face when all others are losing it. You'll be cool and calm in the midst of hysteria all around. You'll have a song of praise on your lips. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Unlike almost everybody else, you won't be complaining about the trouble. You won't be worried about how it's going to work out. You'll be at peace, right in the eye of the storm. You won't live afraid. You'll live confident, knowing that Lord Krishna is in those dark valleys, walking right by your side. Well, true, that's all very well, but I have his child who's really, really off course. I'm dealing with a chronic illness. True, have you read the most recent medical report? True, I'm on the verge of bankruptcy. When all this turns around, when my child gets right, when I get out of bankruptcy, when I get cured, then I'll do what you say, then I'll have a good attitude. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. You're waiting for Krishna to bring you out, while Krishna's waiting for you to do what? Invite him in, exactly. And when he comes into the valley with you, that's the end of fear. That's the end of confusion, tension, anxiety. Because even though you may not see a way, faith means that I know God has a way. He can do what I cannot do. So instead of just trying to get out of the valley, out of the trouble, out of the fire, if you'll just start praying, Krishna or God, come in. Let me feel your presence in the fire. Show me your greatness in this trouble. Then you'll have a peace that passeth all understanding. A joy when you should be discouraged. A hope when you should be hopeless. Half a century ago, there was a traveling evangelist named Luther Bridges. He lived in a little town called Wilmer, Kentucky. Didn't spend much time there because he was always out attending revival meetings wherever it was needed. One time, he returned from one of his trips to discover that his home had burned to the ground, and in that fire, his wife and 4 children had perished. Even today, you can visit their graves in that little Wilmore cemetery in Kentucky. But out of that tragic loss and the faith that sustained him through that, he wrote one of the best of all gospel songs. It's called "He Keeps Me Smiling." Anybody know it? The only thing that was left of his house were the 2 or 3 stone steps leading up to what used to be the entrance. So he sat on those 2 or 3 stone steps, and he wrote both the words and the music to this song. I'll just repeat it. There's within my heart a melody. My Lord whispers, sweet and low, fear not, I am with thee. Peace, be still in all of life's ebb and flow. All my life was wrecked by sin and strife. Discord filled my heart with pain. God swept across the broken strings, stirred the slumbering chords again. Though sometimes he leads me through fiery flames, trials fall across the way. Though sometimes the path seems rough and steep, I see his footprints all the way. People don't determine your destiny. Bad breaks can't stop God's plan for your life. Sickness, loss of loved ones, addictions, unfair situations don't have the final say. Now, don't be discouraged in your life because God did not keep you out of the fire. He doesn't stop every negative situation, but he rather uses those situations to move us into our purpose. Can I tell you that we would never know the extent of his power if we were never thrown into the fire, so to speak? You wouldn't know how much of a healer he is had you not had an illness. You wouldn't know he could move mountains if you never faced big obstacles. Quit complaining about what it is that you're up against. It's not a surprise to God. The enemy may have turned up the fire 7 times hotter than normal, but they didn't do it without God's sanction. He's in control, not just of your life, but he's also in the hearts of your enemies. So instead of complaining about the fire, start inviting him into the fire. When God is with you, you cannot be defeated. You and Krishna are a majority. He's not a natural God. He's a supernatural God. He's not limited by fire, by floods, by famines. What should have taken you out cannot stop your destiny. Instead of complaining about everything that you don't like, recognize that God can take what was meant for your harm and use it for your good. Now, the purpose of that adversity is not so you can live miserable, worried, and afraid. His purpose is to show his glory through you so that other people can see the power of God's favor on the life of his devotees. Without great tests, you're not going to have a great testimony. Without big battles, you won't see big victories. And you can say, Krishna or God, this is what I'm believing for. This is what I hope will happen. This is a timetable that I'm hoping for. But be sure and add on to that. Even if it doesn't work out my way, I'm still going to sing your glories. I'm still going to be good to others. I'm still going to show up on Sunday, and I'm still going to praise you. I'm still going to pursue my dreams. That's the kind of attitude that gets God's attention. You're saying, Krishna, not my will, but your will be done. But too often, tell me if I'm right or not, we're putting conditions on God, conditions on our prayer. I'll be happy if my boss moves to the backside of Mars. When I get him out of my life, then I'll have a good attitude. But have you ever thought, maybe, just maybe, God is using that person to do a work in you, to grow you up, to develop your character, to teach you how to love people that are not very lovable. So instead of praying, Krishna, get me out of the situation, we're asking you this afternoon to start praying. Krishna, come into this situation. Help me to have a good attitude. Help me to do the right thing even when the wrong thing is happening. It's very powerful when you can say, Krishna, even if my boss never moves, even if he's up above me until his false teeth fall out, I know that you'll give me the strength to overcome. I know that you'll give me the power to be happy in the middle of this difficulty. I'm not going to let this person, this sickness, this injustice steal my joy. You know what's happening? You're growing up. You're getting out of the little baby pool and you're getting into the deep waters of faith. You're coming up higher. Sometimes Krishna or God's waiting for us to pass the test before he brings us out. God is on watch 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year, 100 years a century, 10 centuries a millennium. The reason why you should be able to sleep peacefully at night is because he never sleeps. There's a story back in the days of World War II, the Germans were bombing London every night. After one particularly devastating bomb-filled night, citizens began to search through the rubble for the dead, the dying, and the missing. And it was a godly, righteous old grandmother. They couldn't find her anywhere. They looked far and wide. Finally, you know where they found her? They found her asleep in her own bedroom. They said, ma'am, how could you sleep with all of that bombing going on? She said, well, in the scripture, it says, he who is in the hearts of his devotees shall neither slumber nor sleep. So I figured there's no need for both of us to stay up all night. So I went to bed. That little lady knew that God was by her side. That bombing, so to speak, should have gotten you. That illness should have been your end. The medical report said, you're done. But God came in there with you. And guess what? You're still going strong. That person that you lost or that person that walked away, broke your heart, that should have soured your life. But you're ready to love again. You're ready to move forward, doing great things, fulfilling your purpose. How could that be? Because Krishna or God was in the fire with you. They say God is a very present help in times of trouble. And we know that God is always with us. But when you're in difficulties, when things are not going in your way, and you still invite him in, you're going to feel his presence above and beyond. You're going to be able to sleep in the middle of the storm. The God who never sleeps, who controls the storm, the God who protects his devotees is right there watching over you, protecting you, guiding your footsteps. And we all face challenges in life. Things may not have turned out the way you thought. You ask God to keep you out of the fire, and you're wondering, how in the world am I going to beat this illness? How is my family going to be restored? But Krishna is saying to you tonight, don't worry. Don't try and figure it all out. Just trust me. I'm going with you. You're not going into that fire by yourself. I have you in the palm of my hand. I'm fighting your battles. That obstacle indeed may be too much for you, but it's not too much for me. I heard about a fellow, he was talking to his friend who was a football player. The friend asked him, how are you and your girlfriend doing? This is a joke, by the way. This football player very glumly, despondently replied, just terrible. Only last night she told me that she was going to be faithful to the end. So the friend said, well, what's wrong with that? He said, I'm not the end, I'm the quarterback. Well, I want to tell you that our God will not only be faithful to the end, but he'll also be faithful to the quarterback. And when you come to the end of your rope and you feel like you've dead-ended, you feel like your enemy is going to win, whether your enemy be disease, disappointment, or discouragement, just remember who your God is and what your God can do. There was a Christian in Africa by the name of Frederick Nolan. He was being pursued by some tribal people who took issue with his preaching of the gospel. They intended to kill him. The chase went over hill and valley. He couldn't find any place to hide. He finally came to the end of his energy, and he just saw a cave, and he just flopped into this cave, expecting them to come upon him at any moment and kill him with their spears. And while he was lying there, waiting for a certain death, a little spider came between him and the cave opening. And very quickly, in just a matter of a few minutes, wove this very elaborate decorative web. Sure enough, the pursuers came running by. They thought, oh, he must have hidden in the cave. But when they went into the cave, they saw this intricate, elaborate web, and they thought, well, if he had gone in the cave, he would have torn down that web. And so the fact the web being there indicates that he couldn't be in the cave. And they went on. When you're in the fire, when you're being chased, when your life is at risk, when you're in a dangerous situation, then more than ever, you need to be thanking God that he's in that situation with you, thanking him that no weapon formed against you can prosper, to tell him, Krishna, God, I'm not going to worry. I'm going to trust you. I believe that everything will turn out fine. Here's the key. How you approach your difficulties is going to make all the difference. How you approach your difficulties determines whether you're going to go through them. How you approach your difficulties determines when you're going to go through them. How you approach your difficulties determines whether you're going to get stuck in that rut right where you are, or whether those difficulties are going to be a springboard to the next level of your destiny. God knows how to restore. He knows how to vindicate. He knows how to rescue. The question is, are you inviting him into the difficulty? Are you complaining? Are you being discouraged? Are you telling God it's not fair? Well, try a different approach. God, come into the fire with me. Help me to do the right thing. Change me where I need to change. Burn off things that are holding me back. You have to bloom where you're planted. Shine where you are. Have a song of praise when you could be complaining. Keep a smile on your face when you could be discouraged. Keep reminding yourself that God, the creator of the universe, the most high God, is right by my side. He knows what you're up against. He knows what's not fair. He knows the hurts. He knows the disappointments. He's been with you during the lonely nights. He knows every tear that you've shed. But here's the good news. When you dig in your heels and do the right thing, you will feel a supernatural power, a strength to do what you could not do on your own. Last story, I know it's hot and stuffy in here. If you've got a program, I won't be offended if you use it as a fan. Winding up here now, we have in Scripture, 7th canto of Bhagavatam, the famous story of the 5-year-old boy Prahlad, who was a devotee of Krishna, the son of a demon named Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu got so exasperated at the devotion, the piety of his son, that he actually tried to kill him in several different ways. In ancient lore, we are told the story of a 5-year-old boy named Prahlad. His faith in Krishna was pure and bold. Krishna's chants filled his soul while his father's rage viciously unfolded. His father, Hiranyakashipu, a demon king, demanded worship and decreed that everyone his praises sing. But Prahlad's heart yearned to be free. His father used threats and torments to break his spirit, destroy his son. Though trampled, poisoned, and thrown in the ocean, Prahlad's devotion remained unbroken. Through every trial, Prahlad held fast. The Lord protected him as he passed every test. Even Holika, the demoness of fire, herself was burned on a flaming pyre. To kill the demon, the Lord emerged from a pillar with a mighty roar. An iron string of half man, half lion, tore the demon apart. Prahlad pleaded to Nrsimha with a tear in his eye, Lord, please hear my cry, though my father is blinded by pride, consumed by hatred, break into his darkness and let mercy preside. Prahlad's devotion conquered all. The Lord made an exception for his father, and out of his broken body offered redemption for the soul. May the story of Prahlad be forever told. His faith was untamed. Despite a demon king's rage, devotion was his armor, come what may. Krishna's names never left his lips. May the fame of those who proclaim the glories of the Lord live forevermore. At one point during his various efforts to kill his own son, being frustrated, this powerful warrior looks down at his diminutive little 5-year-old boy, and he says, where do you get the power to resist me? I've defeated the armies of demigods like Indra, Varuna, Kavira. How does a 5-year-old boy resist my efforts to kill him? Where does your power come from? And Prahlad says, Dad, my power comes from same place your power comes, same place anybody's power comes from God. Then where is your God? I'll kill him and then I'll kill you. He said, well, he's has his unique abode beyond this material world, but he also pervades and supports everything. He's in every atom. He's in everyone's heart. And Hiranyakashipu, they were on the porch. He said, "Isn't he in this pillar?" Prahlad said, "Of course." So Hiranyakashipu then wound up, and as soon as his tip of his sword touched that pillar, out of that pillar came half man, half lion, form that nobody had ever seen before, came out and bifurcated the demon just as a little child cuts a wasp in two. At the end, Prahlad was vindicated. He conquered everything. He never got flustered. He never got discouraged. He always felt the presence of God walking by his side through the poison, through the fire, through the flood. He didn't ask Krishna to get him out of the persecution. He simply lived at rest and at peace in the persecution because he knew that Krishna was always by his side. Similarly, we can take a note from Prahlad's book and say, "Lord, thank you that you're with me in this battle with cancer. Thank you that you're with me in the addiction. Thank you, Lord, that you're with me in this divorce, in this breakup, in this recent loss of a loved one." And when you invite God in, you will feel his presence in a new way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When the circumstances look bad, the medical report is not good, your loved one is off course, it's easy to live worried, upset, but can we encourage you this afternoon? The Most High God controls every atom. He's within your heart as well as in the heart of your enemy. He is the source of your strength as well as of your enemy's strength. Fires cannot stop you. Sickness cannot stop you. Injustice cannot stop you. People cannot keep you from your destiny. Our suggestion is, if you kept God first place, relax. Everything is going to be fine for you. Sure, the flames may be big. The storm may be turbulent, but you have an advantage. The God who controls the universe, the storms, the fires, is right by your side. Now, do your part. Start thanking him that he's fighting your battles. Start shining where you are. Start being your best in spite of the difficulties. Don't wait till it changes. Invite him in so that in the midst of the fire, he's allowed to use that fire to refine you, make you, and mold you into the person of excellence that he wants you to be in this life. And next life, you'll go back to home, back to God. Well, thanks very much for putting up with the heat. If you would kindly just join me by raising your hands, and let's all say together, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.